My ex made my life a prison for 2 years, until the one man he feared finally walked in. I left him on a Tuesday morning with 2 suitcases, a cracked phone screen, and a handprint bruise on my wrist that I told myself wasn't worth explaining to anyone anymore. I was 27, exhausted, and done pretending that love was supposed to feel like fear dressed up as concern. His name wasn't Eric. I'll call him Dylan. And for 4 years, Dylan didn't just date me, he owned my silence. When I moved out of our apartment in Ashford, a mid-sized city where everyone seems to know everyone, I thought the worst part was over. I honestly believed that once I walked away, once I blocked his number and changed my routine, my life would slowly become quiet again. I imagined peace like a room with the door finally closed. I was wrong. The threat started the very next day. I was standing in line at a grocery store, still shaky, still hyper-aware of every sound, when I felt that familiar pressure behind my eyes, the instinct that told me he was near before I ever saw him. When I turned around, he was there, leaning against a display of bottled water like he had every right to be. He smiled at me the way he always did when he wanted to remind me who was in control. Dylan's voice was low. Calm. Deadly soft. He accused me of moving on too fast. He asked who I was shopping for. He told me I'd regret embarrassing him. I didn't respond. I didn't cry. I paid for my groceries with shaking hands and walked out, pretending my legs weren't about to give out. That was day 1. For the next 2 years, my life became a narrow hallway with no exits. Any man who spoke to me, a coworker, a barista, a neighbor, became a target. Dylan would show up at their job. Send messages from burner accounts. Make vague but terrifying promises about what would happen if they didn't back off. I stopped smiling at strangers. I stopped going out after dark. I stopped posting photos. I stopped wearing dresses. I stopped existing loudly. The police told me there wasn't enough evidence. Friends told me to move. My family told me to ignore him. But no one understood that Dylan didn't need to touch me to hurt me anymore. He had perfected the art of presence, of reminding me that no matter where I went, he could still reach me. He wanted me isolated. And it worked. I became someone who planned escape routes in every public place. Someone who sat with her back to walls. Someone who flinched when footsteps matched a rhythm I recognized. I dated no one. I barely spoke to men at all. The few times I tried, Dylan appeared like a ghost, outside a CAF, near my apartment, at the gym. Always calm. Always smiling. Always reminding me that freedom was temporary. I started believing him. The breaking point came late one night when a coworker offered to walk me to my car. He was harmless. Married. Just kind. Dylan followed us. I watched the fear on that man's face as Dylan leaned in and whispered something I couldn't hear. The next day, my coworker asked to be transferred to another department and wouldn't look at me anymore. That was the night I went home and sat on the floor of my shower, fully clothed, shaking so hard my teeth hurt. I didn't want to die. But I didn't know how to live either. And then something small broke, my laptop. It sounds stupid, but that stupid laptop changed everything. I needed it for work. It wouldn't turn on, and I couldn't afford a replacement. I took it to a repair shop across town, one Dylan had never followed me to before. I remember my hands sweating as I pushed the door open, already rehearsing excuses in my head in case I had to leave quickly. That's when I saw Lucas. He was behind the counter, broad-shouldered, tall enough that the ceiling light seemed closer to his head than anyone else's. His arms were thick, not gym pretty, but functional, powerful, the kind built for impact. His ears were slightly misshapen. His nose had been broken more than once. Later, I learned he was an MMA fighter. At the time, I just thought he looked like someone the world would hesitate to mess with. And yet, when he spoke, his voice was calm. Almost gentle. Lucas didn't stare. Didn't push. Didn't ask questions that made my skin crawl. He took my laptop, asked me to sit, and brought me water like it was the most natural thing in the world. I didn't tell him anything. I didn't need to. But something in me exhaled for the first time in years. When Dylan showed up, because of course he did, it happened fast. The bell over the shop door rang, and my stomach dropped. I felt that familiar cold flood through my chest. Dylan walked in like he owned the place, eyes locking onto me immediately. He smiled. Lucas noticed. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Lucas stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of me without touching me, without making it dramatic. Lucas spoke calmly. He asked Dylan if he needed help. Dylan tried to puff himself up. He tried intimidation. He tried that smug tone he always used. Lucas didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten him. He simply stated, very clearly, that this was his shop, that Dylan was making a customer uncomfortable, and that he needed to leave. Something shifted. Dylan looked at Lucas the way prey looks at a calculation it can't solve. He left. Just like that. I stood there shaking, tears spilling down my face before I could stop them. Lucas didn't ask questions. He handed me tissues. He told me my laptop would be ready the next day. When I came back, Dylan wasn't there. He didn't show up the day after that either. Or the next. Lucas walked me to my car every time I visited. Never touched me unless I initiated it. Never asked for details. Just presence. Solid. Unmoving. Eventually, I told him everything. About the threats. The stalking. The way Dylan made my life small. Lucas listened. His jaw tightened once. That was all. When Dylan finally resurfaced, weeks later, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't violent. Lucas stepped outside with him. I stayed inside, heart pounding, hands locked together so tightly my nails dug into my palms. I didn't hear what Lucas said. I only saw Dylan's face when he left. I never saw that smile again. From that moment on, Dylan disappeared. No messages. No sightings. No shadows at the edge of my life. Lucas and I took things slow. Painfully slow. He let me lead. He understood flinches. He understood silence. He understood fear without judgment. Being with him felt like learning how to breathe again. We moved in together a year later. I slept through the night for the first time in years. I stopped checking over my shoulder. I started wearing dresses again. When Dylan tried one last time, a message from an unknown number, Lucas handled it. Legally. Calmly. Completely. And Dylan vanished for good. Now, as I write this, I'm planning my wedding. I'm not scared of being seen. I'm not scared of loving. For 2 years, I lived like a prisoner in my own city. Now, I live free. And the man who saved me didn't do it with violence. He did it by standing still, and refusing to let fear win.